Hey everyone, so the Transatlantic Way race has now come more or less to a finish. There are still two people still out there riding, um, so obviously it's not a complete finish, and they will be slowly kind of making their way to the finish as they get there. But in general, everyone has now finished or scratched, sadly, and so I thought it'd be good to have a look, do a bit of a roundup really. Now, I didn't do any videos since Beyond finished and kind of the top three. You'll have to forgive me on that. Been kind of riding my bike myself. It's pretty hot here and I am pretty tired. So I thought if we do a little roundup, we can gain a look at the finishes on that. Now, it was a really, really good race. Everything went off kind of unhitched, which was really great to see. And apparently it was seriously tough. The riders had a mixture of wind, rain, um, more wind, lots of hills. Kind of the riders I've spoken to have finished, and since finishing, getting a bit of an update from them, finding out what the course is like and things like that. Just talk about how tough it was, and Bjorn went out and said that he found it harder than Transcontinental last year, which is quite a big statement to make, and so I'm pretty interested about finding out how hard it really is at some point in time. Maybe it's not so much a course for me with the up and downs, and but it sounds tough, and it attracts anyone, doesn't it? So what I thought we could do is, if we start off the tracker replay, if it's gonna start replaying, there we go, from the beginning. Now, set this kind of a good speed. What we could do is just kind of watch everyone making their way off. So this was obviously the first day as everyone headed off on their own routes to Dublin, from Dublin to Londonderry, and that's where we see them all split out across different routes. So here we can see quite easily pointed out by her pink dot is Paula, and we were talking Paula up a lot at the start about doing a really, really good race. So we can see the media car 2, which actually hiding Luke, Bjorn and Bernard there, and they didn't sleep on the first night, and that's why they pulled out that gap as we spoke about. So we're into the second day now, and we can see Luke having stopped for a bit, Bjorn and Bernard, those two heading out at the start. Paula, fourth place. Charlotte Thompson in there, we can see her name as well. Anderson, everyone is making their way pretty well. But you can see Bjorn and Bernard really opening out with Luke behind, just pushing his steady pace. Never quite there with Bjorn and Bernard, but always not far behind. So, second night we can see that they all had a long stop and a sleep, everyone included, even these guys up here. So you can see Paula and Charlotte really pulling out there, real race going on between them. Now, it's about this point, actually, that we see Paula start having some issues, and this is where she scratched from the race. Oh, maybe it's a little bit further, actually, forgive me. But yeah, she's slowing down, and that's what you can see. So Charlotte has taken the lead from her there, and that's because Paula's slowing down. So this is when she started having her issues, and she scratches a bit later. There you go. That was a real shame to see her scratching from the race. But then we got really excited about Charlotte Thompson doing really, really well. So again, the third night, and you can see everyone more or less stopped for a sleep there. So what you can see here is Dan Massey, who finished in fourth place. This is where he starts to pull out a little bit of a lead. Bjorn is really pulling out his lead as well here. Now Bernard's tracker starts having some issues around here, and we know he was having some issues with punches and things like that a bit later on. But so we're going to see some issues with his tracker now. Apparently he was always still pretty close to Bjorn from what I've heard. He wasn't sleeping much, so we can assume he's well in this gap here, but having some problems. So you can see Charlotte Thompson there in kind of first lady, maybe 6th or 7th place. Dan Massey holding his 4th place pretty well, and you've got this big mixture of people here that go for a real good fight. So Bernard's tracker is just kind of making its own way as it meets with the dots to catch back up down here. Bjorn really pulling out a lead on Luke here. He was just absolutely on a ride. So impressive from him. Really regimented with his sleep, with his stopping. Kept eating well and just never suffered slowness on progress. So we can see Bernard's track is picked back up and working again. Now, actually, what we've seen is Charlotte Thompson's scratch happened up around here near Limerick, And that was due to Sherman's neck apparently, and she was suffering some other issues, maybe saddle sores, things like that. So that's a shame, and that was a shame to see from her. She was doing really, really well. This was her first kind of ultra endurance event, so I would expect her to, go away, kind of rebuild, sort out some issues, and there you go, and come back and maybe to this race, maybe to a different race, and try again. So you can see these three really pulling out a good lead here. Now it's interesting. Ales Savoro has passed Dan Massey. So Dan Massey does come back in front because we know he finished in 4th place. Now this Bjorn is getting real close to the finish. Bernard actually really pulled close on Bjorn near the end. But due to kind of pushing on so hard in a few previous days, Bernard had to stop on the last night and sleep, whereas Bjorn, because he looked after his body throughout the race really well, could push further and didn't need to stop on the last night. So in the end, Bjorn won by quite a good margin, and then you can see Bernard coming in, Luke in 3rd. So you can see, we just missed her, Emily Chappell is just in here, and this is actually where she kind of scratched from the race as well. She'd been suffering a bit. I know she hasn't managed to ride her bike too much this year, and I also know that she has got some bigger goals coming up this summer that are really important to her, so she didn't want to go too deep in this race and kind of make a mess of her body is probably the best way to put it. So yeah, Dan Massey coming in 4th here, with Luke just having finished in 3rd. So this is the tracker. So it's not going to allow us to go all the way to the finish, is it? The tracker has a limit on the number of days, and track leaders can sort it out, but I'll have to email them. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of pause it once Luke gets a bit closer. It's a bit of a shame. But it was a really good ride by everyone. These leaders, really, really smashed it. Charles, my friend, coming in 6th place, that was really impressive by him. Paul, really, really good riders. Mike Sheldrake, we picked him up, an older guy, just relentless, so strong. Two-time transcontinental, two-time transcontinental race veteran. One time he had some issues and scratch, so he knows what he's doing. So yeah, we got Dan Massey coming in 4th, Charles coming in 6th, Ales coming in 5th. Charles had some issues around here, so I had to slow down a bit. Yeah, really, really good race. I think what would be, I wanted to show you the race flow actually, because this will demonstrate the time between the kind of first and last finisher, but again, it'll only give me 20 people, which is a bit of a shame. I wanted to look all the way to the end, which would kind of be out here, but you can see this is time versus distance. So you can see that Bjorn finished in 6 days and 2 hours, and 20th person finished in 9 days and 5 hours. So the gaps here are so impressive. Bjorn and Bernard well ahead of Luke. Bjorn was nearly 20 hours ahead. Yeah, about 20 hours ahead, which is just huge. And then you had that big group of people finishing in here. And as you can see by the crisscrossing of these lines, there was a good race for the final. You can see here, Benjamin Holmes had some issues on kind of right near the finish, just tired, fatigue, and things. Had a long stop and gave up. Kind of 3 places there. You can see here that Paul Anderson really pushed on to the finish and didn't sleep for quite a long time. His pace really slowing near the end. You can see here, Ales, although struggling earlier on, as he got near the finish, picked up and got faster and faster, which is just really, really impressive. As Charles just slowed and had a stop due to just being absolutely knackered basically. So it's so impressive from him. This is really impressive. Shame for Ben to have a long stop there. That cost him quite a few places, but if he had some issues, then fair enough. You see here, Marku, really pushing a pace and managing to actually finish in front of Mike Sheldrake. So, a bit like any Grand Tour, racing in for 10th, 20th, 30th place, you're still going to sprint it out to the line if you've got anything left, because it is most definitely worth it. So you can see here, if you go and look at Kevin and then Gavin, you can see Kevin is slowing, but Gavin stops for a a good long sleep there, whereas Kevin just keeps pushing on. And actually, it's pretty much neck and neck finish. So although Kevin really pushed on, his pace was slowing off. He had a real short sleep there, whereas Gavin had a longer sleep. You can just see a lot slower pace from him, so it's really interesting to have a look at that. If we go to the women, we can actually see that only 3 women finished, which is just shows the brutality of the race from the kind of dozen or so that were entered. And that was quite a commanding win, or first female finisher by Anna, with Victoria in second, and then Isabel in third. So, it's a shame that we lost a couple of the women who are doing really well, and we would expect to kind of be in the top 10, maybe top 5. Definitely top 10, maybe top 5. So, I expect them to go away and come back stronger once they've sorted it out. What we can do actually is, if we go down here, we can see how many people have scratched, and the number of people that have scratched from the race is almost as many that have finished, and it just goes to tell the story of just how hard this is. So if you finished, kudos to you, because just finishing is serious respect. And I'm sure these people that have scratched will be a bit upset, but they will go away, work out what went wrong, work out how they can improve, work out how they can solve their issues, and look to come back to this race or another race and kind of scratch that itch that they've definitely got, because no one likes scratching, and no one that is able to do a race like this will be able to accept having scratched as the definitive. I know Katie has tried to race the Transcontinental a couple of times now and not managed that, and I know she's tried this and had some issues here, and it just goes to show the tenacity of some people, that she keeps coming back and keeps trying. It's the right thing. Never give up. If you don't succeed, try again. So I look forward to seeing a lot of these names come back to this race or to another race, and I look forward to seeing them finish, because that's what it's about. So congratulations to everyone. Really good race, and I look forward to the 2018 Transatlantic Way bike race. I'm sure it will be exciting. Any questions, or if you want to know any more information that I've missed, then just reach out to me, and I'll be happy to answer those, and we can have a look. All right, cheers.